seedlings. Today we are going to be reading Confidence, What a Hero Needs by UhhhYaEnbyJade. The summary is: confidence was never a strong suit for Izuku Midoriya, so when the fact is noticed by none other than 18-plus pro hero Midnight, she sends him a request for an internship. Izuku Midoriya had failed, utterly failed. All Might asked him to tell the world that he was there, basically to announce himself as All Might's successor, or to be seen as a creepy fanboy, but that wasn't something new to Izuku. But still, this was his moment to shine, to prove to the world that he wasn't a useless Deku like Kachan kept telling him he was. That he wasn't a failure, that he could be a hero just like he dreamed of being. If only I hadn't tried to help Todoroki. I could have beaten him and pushed on. No, I needed to help him, but I could have done better. Such thoughts had been flowing through his head after his infamous match with Endeavor's son. As he sat in Recovery Girl's nursing room, Izuku just couldn't get the feeling of failure from his head. That feeling of being a useless, quirkless Deku. Recovery Girl came back in, and Izuku quickly put up his mask, a neutral expression hiding the pain that he was scolded for the second time that day. The elderly nurse released him and sent him on his way to the viewing stands. The final match was too much for him to handle. He already failed at what All Might had expected of him, but he couldn't even help Todoroki with his trauma. Realistically, Izuku knew that it couldn't have worked so fast, but it almost had. Todoroki was using it and then stopped right after. The earlier feeling of uselessness resurfaced again, and Izuku ran out of the stands as the match was called to an end, ignoring the calls of his classmates again. The waiting rooms, he knew, would be empty. The last match had finished, so there would be no students, and all the teachers were upstairs. So Izuku rushed into the closest one he could find and crawled under the nearest table. A tear fell, and then another, and another. And then they all came gushing forth. Sobbing, Izuku curled up his legs, his arms wrapping around himself to give him some semblance of touch. The uniform he wore soaking up all the tears that it took in. Nemuri Kayama, more commonly known as the 18-plus hero Midnight, was confused and astounded. Izuku Midoriya, who, according to Aizawa, had been the most determined out of everyone in Class 1A, wasn't on the podium. Of course, the Todoroki kid was a formidable foe, especially since he deemed Midoriya worthy enough to use his fire. But Nemuri couldn't help but wonder what happened. Some would say this was a creepy infatuation with one of the youthful students, as she loved to say. But make no mistake, Nemuri was no pedophile or pervert. While she did enjoy the more behind-the-scenes actions, she most certainly did not harbor attractions for her students. She was currently walking through the hallways of the UA Stadium on the first floor. Bakugo and Todoroki were still in the nurse's office, and no other teacher wanted to do the mandatory hallway checks after the invasion of the USJ. So Midnight was doing it. She had just passed one of the waiting rooms when she heard a noise. Turning around, the 18-plus hero saw the source of her muses. Izuku Midoriya opened the door and stepped out, rubbing his eyes. When he took his hands away, those eyes widened immensely, and he stayed to panic. Midnight Sensei, I was just... Hey, kid, calm down, okay? Just doing the hallway checks. But I didn't expect to see a student down here. What were you doing in the waiting room? Midoriya blanched. Nothing at all. Just a little sad over not doing better. But that's fine. Nothing else happened, I swear. Well, if you say so, go on upstairs to the viewing platforms. The ceremony will be starting soon. With a nod, Midoriya was quick to speed walk to the stairs, leaving Namuri behind. Well, he's a shit liar. Must get it from All Might, she thought before smirking at the running joke / real theory shared by most of the staff members, which Aizawa was surprisingly a believer of. Besides cats, coffee, and naps, gossip was one of the few things he loved. Well, he obviously is feeling bad about not doing well, even though he is skilled. Maybe I can help with that, Midnight smirked. For some reason, both Aizawa and Midoriya felt a shiver go down their spines. Izuku looked at the board. 1 internship request. 1. Todoroki and Kachan got hundreds, but Midoriya got 1. He supposed it was better than some of his other classmates. After all, some didn't get any at all. But still, it was highly disappointing to see that only one person thought he was a good fit for them. Sighing, he grabbed his sheet and looked at who asked for him, and then read it again to make sure it was correct. 18-plus pro hero Midnight. Well, that was odd. Sighing, he checked the yes box, turned it into Aizawa-sensei, and went over to his friends. Ida-san, who will you be going with? The ever-strict president of 1A was acting strange. Of course, anybody would be acting differently if their brother had just been maimed by Stain, the hero killer. But Imo almost seemed calm, but filled with rage at the same time. The fake smiles he gave were obvious to Izuku, who had been faking smiles almost his entire life. Taking all this into account, Izuku wasn't surprised, albeit disappointed, when Ida said, Manuel, he's a respectable hero who does good work. I'd like to learn from someone like them. Okay then. Izuku wanted to say more, but anxiety made him swiftly retreat to where Uraraka was. Hey, Uraraka-san, who do you think you'll be interning with? Gunhead, I may want to be a rescue hero, but the festival taught me that I should learn some martial arts, right? But Deku-kun, who requested you? Oh, Midnight Sensei did, he replied quietly, sheepishly, rubbing the back of his head. Unfortunately, while the rest of the class didn't hear, the local pervert could always sniff out talk about female pro heroes. Wait, Midoriya-san, Midnight requested you? You lucky bastard. I knew you were a ladies' man. How'd you do it? Mineta demanded. Wait, Midoriya-san, what did Midnight want you for? Midnight, as in the 18th plus hero Midnight? No way. That's an awesome dude. Nice catch. Yep. The pervert of 1A just didn't know how to keep his mouth shut. Izuku shrunk under the class's attention, meekly responding with a, "Yeah, she did." Stupid Deku, Bakugo growled, ignored by everyone else, but heard by Izuku. "So, Principal Nezu, I got another request for young Midoriya. It is a bit late, but seeing as it's from Gran Torino, I can tell him, right?" All Might, currently as Toshinori Yagi, was currently in a meeting with Nezu, principal of UA High School. That was reason enough to be shaking. Almost everyone was convinced that Nezu could and would take the world over if given the opportunity. But add Gran Torino to the equation, and that was almost enough for Toshinori to wish All for One to come back to life to fight again, just so he could escape the torture. "Oh, right. About that. Izuku Midoriya has already taken up an internship with Midnight, the only one to request him before today. I apologize for the inconvenience. Please let Gran Torino know, and give him my regards. I missed having him as a co-worker," replied the principal. Toshinori blanched in fear and let himself out. He was pretty sure that he heard Nezu begin to cackle at his misfortune the second the door was closed. He really should add demon to his list of possible animals. A week went by, and school was the same. The only interesting thing that happened was the name picking, where Izuku chose Deku. And luckily, nobody even asked more about it after his explanation. Now, he stood at the gates of UA, where his internship would start. Midnight lived in Musatafu in order to teach at UA, so he didn't have to take the train with the rest of his friends. He just wished he did something more than tell Ida he was there for him, especially after he was given that fake smile again. Izuku shook his head. There was no way Ida would do something crazy. Rule follower Ida was just too much of a stickler to do something crazy. The sound of a car driving up to the gates jolted him out of his thoughts. Midnight sat there in the driver's seat. "Hey kiddo, come on in. I'll take you to my place where we can start your internship." Izuku slipped his bag into the trunk and walked to the back seat, opening the door. No, kid. Up here in the front is fine." "You sure, Midnight Sensei?" Of course. And it's Nemuri when I'm off duty, kiddo," she replied to his nervous question. Izuku wordlessly slipped into the passenger seat and clipped on the seatbelt as Midnight sped off. "Now, kiddo, bit of an information for you. I don't really have an agency, you see. I'm a weird mix of underground like Eraserhead and public like All Might. I love attention, but I also do my best when no one else is around." Midnight continued to give some more information about how she ran being a hero, and glanced over to see Midoriya furiously scribbling kanji into a notebook. The famous notebooks that Aizawa has told me about. Finally. Looking back towards the road, Nemuri asked him what the notebook was on. That I like to analyze quirks and heroes. I was just adding the information to your pages." "My pages?" Yeah, I have pages dedicated to each hero. About 10 for each, but most of those are blank for when I get new information. With a topic of interest, Izuku was slowly but surely brought out of his shell and began excitedly rambling about his notebooks. Soon they arrived at Midnight's flat, where the woman excused herself to change out of her hero costume, leaving Izuku in the spare room that was usually saved for Aizawa or Yamada after a particularly long shift. Izuku put his stuff away and walked out to the living room, where he sat on a couch and waited for Midnight to return. She arrived a few minutes later with a normal t-shirt, sweatpants, and her hair put up in a messy bun. She walked over to the other couch and sat down. Now, kiddo, I don't usually take internships, but I always spend the first day getting to know more about each other. Helps a bond grow, which in turn helps me teach you better. You feel? Izuku nodded. Yes, Nomuri-sensei. I said to drop the sensei, and Nomuri's stern look. Izuku's face dropped before the mask was raised up again. Sorry, Nomuri-san. Nomuri was now confused. The simple reminder causing him to close up like that was concerning to say the least. Well then, tell me about yourself, kiddo. Basic rundown of your life. I'll go next. Well, I was born. I went to school for years. I got my quirk. Did the entrance exam. Failed at the festival, and now I'm here. Izuku hid her blank look and asked, Okay, why do you want to be a hero? Izuku quickly latched on to this newer topic. I've always wanted to be one, to be strong like All Might, and save everyone with a smile. I could never stop wanting to help people, so a hero just seemed like the best way to do it. Nomuri smiled at that. Well, those are good reasons. I'm sure with that quirk of yours, you'll get there in no time. Izuku visibly shrunk on himself at that, specifically when your quirk came up. You alright, kiddo? Huh? Oh, yeah, I'm fine, no worries. Narrowing her eyes, the older woman replied, Well, if you need anything, just talk to me, okay? I'm here for you. Izuku just nodded at her and fell silent again. Hey, why don't we make some lunch, then we can head out to town, huh? Go shopping or something, help build the bond, right? At Izuku's nod, she rose up and asked what she liked to eat. The green-haired child brightened up. Katsudon. Katsudon's my favorite. Stomach filled with the best food on the planet, Izuku stepped out of her car with Nomuri and followed alongside her to the clothing store. He dared to think that her katsudon was as good as his mom's, which was a hard achievement to beat. However, being in a public quickly brought in old memories. In public was a good place to target a quirkless kid, and while he wasn't quirkless anymore, the attention he might receive, especially if it was the negative kind, scared him, made him lock the door and go run under the bed. Alright, kiddo, here's my personal favorite clothing store. Let's get you something as a little souvenir to remember this week, huh? Nomuri asked eagerly. Izuku nodded half-heartedly, making Nomuri even more confused. Midoriya kept changing, seeming more and more like some sort of enigma that no one could figure out. They stepped into the store, and Izuku had no preference for what clothes to wear. since this was a more fancy store that didn't have his normal t-shirts that had kanji for t-shirt or formal wear, even when asked. So Namuri sighed internally and brought him over to a section. She automatically looked him over, then went searched over to the nearest rack and began searching. Every now and again she would pull the top out and hold it up, but none of them seemed right. Too baggy, too wrinkly, too tight. None of them seemed right. When she looked at him again, she caught his eyes glancing over to different sections. Eyes hanging on just a little bit longer than his normal observational observing. Smirking to herself, she made her way over there and grabbed a tank top and a sweater. Namuri handed them to him and asked him to go try it on. When he stepped out of the changing room, she may or may not have squealed. "Oh my god, it's so cute! It looks really good on you. Do you like it? Is it too..." Izuku stood there, his red shoes and normal pants still on, but his torso. A gray sweater adorned him, his sleeves reaching halfway down his hands and left his shoulders uncovered, showing the straps of the tank top to the world. All in all, it was definitely more feminine, which is why Namuri got so worried. Even now, after 200 years, people were still against people wearing clothing that wasn't typically worn by an opposing gender. No, it's fine. I really like it," Izuku reassured her. He looked at himself in the nearby mirror and murmured to himself, "I haven't worn something like this in forever." "Oh, you've worn clothing like this before, Midoriya?" Having been caught, Izuku blushed heavily. Yeah. I used to a year ago. It was a lot, but I stopped a while ago." Ever eager to learn about the students, Namuri questioned as to why. "Well, it is more feminine than what most guys would wear, so even though I wore it because it was comfortable and I liked it, people bullied me for it and on the quirklessness, and it was..." Izuku slammed his hands over his mouth. "Quirkless? But he has a quirk. What does he mean?" "Hey, Izuku." The green bean whipped his head up at the usage of his first name. "What do you mean, quirkless? You have a quirk?" I was a late bloomer. I didn't get my quirk until the day of the entrance exam." As Izuku continued to speak, his voice dropped lower and lower as he became more and more embarrassed. "Well, that explains a whole bunch. He was bullied for years. No wonder he has low self-esteem and can't use his quirk without breaking himself." "Wait, the entrance exam? That was the first time you used it?" Izuku just nodded. "Well, damn kid, you're a real tough one." "So, to clarify, you were quirkless until about 2 months ago and were bullied for it along with liking feminine clothing." Izuku nodded again. "Well, not in this accepting environment, kiddo. Pick out the clothes you like, and if anyone messes with you for it, beat them up. I'll pretend I didn't see anything." At Izuku's hesitation, she added, "Or I can beat them up." Izuku smiled softly and slowly made his way to the rack, fingers traveling the clothes as he chose what he liked. Mostly tank tops, sweaters, and a few crop tops. Izuku had a smile on when he woke up the next day. It had been a long time since that had happened, but with yesterday's event still on his mind, he couldn't help but be happy. Izuku stood up and stretched, the tank top riding up his stomach before he went to the kitchen to make breakfast. Nomuri was already up, making something that smelled delicious. "Oh, hey kiddo, I'm making some scrambled eggs. Want some?" Izuku nodded fervently, doing the Izuku headbang. Nomuri laughed and continued making the eggs, while Izuku worked on setting up the dining room table with napkins and drinks. Nomuri had a cup of coffee, while Izuku decided to pour himself some apple juice. Soon enough, breakfast was finished and ready to eat. The two sat down at the table and began eating when Nomuri decided it was a good time to ask some questions. "So, kiddo, your quirk," she started while stabbing the eggs. "It's a strength enhancement, correct?" Izuku's mind was flowing a kilometer a minute and stammered out a response. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, though it also might just be a source of energy, but I'm not really sure." "Well, that's just fun. We'll just have to make sure that we can help you learn to use it properly. You can't control it, right?" Izuku shook his head. "No, I think it came in too late because of how powerful it is. Like it was some sort of limitation my body put on to keep my limbs from blowing off." Nomuri just stared in awe. This damn kid, had a quirk so powerful it hid himself so it wouldn't blow him up. A quirk that allowed him to break the frankly insane attacks that Todoroki could send out. A quirk that still broke his bones to this day. And he's still kicking? "Kid, I'm gonna be direct here. How are you still here?" "Huh?" Izuku looked up confused, with no small amount of worry. Anyone else would have given up by now, or have just stopped caring about it. But you just kept pushing forward and making leaps and bounds with the quirk," Nomuri stated, taking a drink from her coffee. Izuku blushed heavily and responded, "I just have a lot of determination, I guess." Nomuri stared incredulously. "That's a lot of determination there, kid. More than most pros have." If it was even possible, Izuku's blush deepened. "It's nothing special. I've just always had that. It's what helped me during my time as the quirkless kid." Now, Nomuri was no fool. While she hadn't personally known a quirkless person, she knew that they were treated horribly. The suicide rates for them were growing higher every year, especially as the population of them went down. So it wasn't hard to figure out that Izuku was bullied. "Well, Midoriya-kun, I think I know what we're going to work on today." "Confidence?" "Yeah, you're such an amazing little green bean, but you don't know it. So today we're working on confidence," Nomuri stated. Izuku just nodded. "When you finish eating, go take a shower, brush your teeth, and get in some clothes that you feel comfortable and confident in, okay?" Izuku smiled softly. "Okay." 30 minutes later, Izuku stepped out of his temporary room wearing black ripped skinny jeans. He had wanted the normal ones, but Nomuri convinced him to try the ripped ones. A crop top and a denim jacket zipped open. Nomuri was excited for today, to say the least. "Okay, so now what helps me be confident is looking nice. What's your take on makeup?" "It's good, I guess, but I've never used it for beautification before." "Well, follow me then. Let's get you all dolled up." She led Izuku into the flag's spacious bathroom and pulled out her makeup kit. Any allergies? At Izuku's shaking head, she grabbed the foundation and got to work. 40 minutes later, Izuku walked out of that bathroom with a new level of respect for girls. Spending all that time on makeup? What determination! Nomuri had certainly done a good job with him. His eyes were now winged and had green eyeshadow along with green highlights on his cheeks and nose. Not only that, but Nomuri had even gotten out the accessories when she saw that he had pierced ears. That little tidbit had gotten him a new haircut. He consented, of course. His hair was about to get annoying anyway, and he now sported a styled undercut, his fluffy hair curling upwards. His ears shone with silver stud earrings, and Nomuri had even given him a thin black choker to wear. So far, this confidence thing was working. Izuku, for the first time since being diagnosed quirkless, felt good about himself. "Oh, this is so cute! And you're sure that it's not uncomfortable and you like it, right?" Nomuri asked nervously. "Yes, I like it a lot. I might have to learn how to do this myself," he said, the older woman squealing in excitement. "Okay, next up, the walk." "The walk?" Your walk. How you walk can tell someone just how confident you are. Now, want to try on high heels?" Nomuri asked, opening a closet door to reveal row upon row of heels. Sure." Izuku was brought to a pair that matched his current getup perfectly. The only problem is, they were 5-inch stilettos. "Don't worry, kid. I do this all the time. I'll teach you in no time." "Yes, good job, kiddo. You're standing in them properly now." "All right, move with your hips, not your legs. That's the key." "Yes. Now turn around and walk back. I got you. Don't worry. I'll get you if you fall." "Again!" Izuku was tired and hungry. After a quick lunch break, they had been still working on the high heel walk. He had gotten it a walk or two ago, but Nomuri wanted him to walk up and down the hallway 5 times without a mess up. 4 more times and Izuku was done, Nomuri smiling at him proudly. He gratefully sat on the couch and unbuckled the heel straps. Slipping out his feet, he rubbed them in order to get some feeling back in them. Izuku walked over and grabbed the heels and put them away. "What do you want for dinner, kiddo? I can order some takeout." Izuku nodded tiredly and went to go set the table up again, only to stop. He tried again and stopped again. "What? Anything wrong, kid?" I can't seem to walk normally again. It's like my body still thinks it's in heels and keeps walking with my hips." Nomuri chuckled. "Yeah, that does happen to be a side effect. Just walk like that, kiddo. It'll help you with your confidence and keep yourself ready for if you have to wear heels again. I'll add 30 minutes of heel practice to tomorrow's training." Izuku brightened at this. "Training? Yeah, kid. Confidence is definitely important, but this is an internship for you to learn from. I have to help you somehow." Izuku smiled again. At about 11 o'clock the next morning, Izuku woke up with another smile. He walked out to the main living area, where he saw Nomuri standing in her midnight costume. "Alright, kiddo, I let you sleep in a bit because today is a big day. We're going on patrol tonight. Now get your costume." Izuku smiled and ran back into his room to get the briefcase and hurriedly put his costume on. His old one had been updated, courtesy of his new friend Hatsume, able to withstand explosions like the one that had destroyed his old one. And he had a new face mask, one that allowed for filtration. His red boots connected to bracers on his legs, and a red utility belt was around his waist. Looking good, kiddo. Now, fire up your quirk. Izuku did just that, 100% running through his right arms, small bits of red lightning sparkling around him. The strain was obvious to Midnight, who could tell that this was all the power. Now, hold on a minute. That's your full strength, isn't it? Don't shoot that in my flat. This place is expensive. Izuku realized his mistake and powered off, waving his arms wildly in apology. Nomuri noticed the power down and was curious. Say, kid, you've been either going at 0 or 100% with your strength, right? Yeah. I'm trying to keep myself from breaking by imagining it's an egg in a microwave. I've started behind everyone else, so I need to catch up quickly. Midnight pondered this issue for a second. Well, have you tried doing it at a lower output than before? Try starting at 0%, then build up until you start feeling strain. Whoa, Midnight Sensei, that's awesome. How did I not think of that? Izuku quickly got to work, building power in his arm until he peaked at 8%. I'm at 8% now. His smile, though wobbly and creaky, reminded Midnight startling of All Might. Alright, now you can try to hit me. I'm fast, so hit me once, and then we can move towards the high heels again. All in all, it took about an hour for Izuku to get used to the new method. But after another hour and a half, he finally landed a punch on Midnight's left arm, bruising it. After apologizing profusely, which Midnight dismissed since it was her request for him to hit her, they practiced with the high heels again. And Izuku was definitely feeling better about himself. The two had dinner, and then it was time. Alright, Midoriya-kun, time for your first patrol. You ready? Izuku nodded excitedly, raising his fist in typical plus ultra fashion. The two left the flat to climb the stairs to the roof, Midnight clipping her whip to swing across the next rooftop like a Spider-Man ripoff. Izuku, no, he was Deku right now, sent 8% of all for one into his legs, jumping across, landing right next to his teacher. Midnight started to pick up the pace while traveling, soon not even stopping as she left from roof to roof, her high heels not causing any trouble at all. See, Deku, this is what it feels like to be a hero. The open sky as you patrol, keeping people safe, that feeling of being free. The green-haired teen found himself agreeing instantly. It did feel nice to jump like this. A few more minutes passed when Midnight stopped on a roof and gestured to him to be quiet. Deku listened with her, and he could faintly hear the sound of people arguing. He followed as Midnight ran toward it silently, landing on a rooftop as she looked in a back alley clearing. They peeked over the edge to see a gang meeting with brown packages being handed to and fro. Psst, Deku, that's cocaine. It might not be as popular as the trigger drug nowadays, but it still gives a kick to a person. And it's definitely still illegal, Midnight informed him. Izuku nodding in confirmation. The two continued to watch as the drugs were exchanged. Midnight explaining they were going to wait for the moment to strike, where Midnight would drop in and knock them out, where Izuku would watch from the rooftops. Movement a roof over caught their eyes. Midnight brightened and tilted her head toward them, summoning the unknown figure. No, figures, Izuku realized. A few minutes later, and Eraserhead swept in from their left, never once being spotted. The protege behind him. "Aw, little Eraser and I'm on a patrol. What a coincidence." If it wasn't for this being right in between our patrol routes, I would have said it was one, the ever-tired man replied. He looked over to Izuku. "Midoriya, good to see you. I trust Midnight has been working you hard." "Yeah, she helped me figure out how to use my quirk a bit better, so I won't break myself." Izuku dropped his head quickly and muttered what seemed to be a "thank God" before turning back to him. "Well, Midnight and we'll discuss how we're going to take these guys down. Keep watch with my intern at the roof edge. I believe you know each other." For the first time, Izuku swept his gaze across to the intern, following Aizawa. Gravity-defying purple hair, bags that rivaled the size of Aizawa's, a mouthguard that seemed to have another undetermined purpose, a black hoodie, and a replica capture weapon sat around the figure's shoulder. Yeah, Izuku knew who this was. "Hey, Shinso, how are you doing?" The tired child grunted in response and looked over at the green-haired kid. "Good. I'm just glad Eraser decided to take me on. I thought after he beat me, I was screwed." Izuku winced at that. "Yeah, I'm sorry about that." "It's fine, though. You did what you had to do to win. Though, I still don't know how you broke free of my control." The statement had a bit of a questioning tone to it. Obviously, Shinso's attempt to gain information while keeping the loner vibe. "I actually have no idea. I haven't had my quirk for very long, so I really have no idea." "Wait, what? How long have you had your quirk?" Izuku shrunk in on himself. Since the entrance exam?" Shinso just gaped at him. "So until then you were quirkless?" "Yeah, actually, a lot of what you told me in the festival really resonated with me, you know?" Sorry for making assumptions about you." Izuku just smiled, causing Shinso to turn away to avoid the brightness. "Don't worry, you were just determined to win. Anyone would have done that." Shinso nodded, and the two kept watching the gang until the two teachers came over. Eraserhead spoke up. "Listen up, Shinso, Midoriya. You'll stay up here and observe how we take them down, and await further orders. If someone does escape, alert us, and we'll give you further instructions then. Understood?" The two teens nodded, and then Eraserhead unfurled his capture weapon and swept down into the clearing, causing a mass panic. He dodged punches and kicks, twirling his scarf around people and flinging them into walls, knocking them out. Midnight joined in, letting off little amounts of her gas, and using her whip to flawlessly imitate Eraserhead's moves. Two gang members escaped through the chaos, and Shinso alerted Midnight. "Deku, get them with Shinso before they escape." Izuku nodded and leapt away, Eraserhead giving them permission to use quirks behind them. Giving one for all into his legs, he grabbed Shinso's capture weapon and leapt them towards criminals, landing in front of them. They stopped, dumbfounded and confused at the two new heroes. Get away! Leave us alone, heroes! One of them spoke, his hands raised defensively. A voice came from Izuku's left, but it wasn't Shinso's. Instead, it was All Might's. Do not worry, young ones, for I am here. Do you criminals have any idea what you're doing? Holy shit, All Might, where the fuck are you? The other criminal responded before he fell silent. Shinso took down his mouth guard. Knock yourself out. And the criminal did just that, punching himself in the face, dropping to the floor almost instantly. His partner looked on horrified as his fellow gang member was incapacitated by a teenaged hero. Leave me alone, man, and sped away. Izuku leapt after him and transferred the power in his legs to his arms, punching the man's back at 8%. The criminal was sent flying 10 meters before he slammed into a light pole, where Deku dragged him back to where Shinso stood. Midnight and Eraserhead stood there, already done stopping the gang and having called the police. Problem child, what the hell was that? Eraserhead asked. Oh yeah, Midnight Sensei said that I should try using a lower percentage of my power instead of all of it. I can use 8% of it normally, and I switch it from body part to body part. Eraserhead startled. This was new to say the least. Midoriya wasn't stuttering at all when talking about his quirk. Maybe this internship with Midnight is what he needed to gain confidence. He smiled under his scarf and ruffled Izuku's hair proudly before moving on to Shinso. Midnight came over to Izuku, squealing in happiness. Oh, good job, kiddo, and you did so well for your first patrol. I'm so proud of you, little guy. The cops arrived soon after and took away the gang members for questioning. Eraserhead and Shinso said goodbye, and Izuku's homeroom teacher gave some advice to Izuku. Try spreading out the power all over your body. Might help with mobility and time saving. Izuku was quick to share this with Midnight, who decided that they would try it on the way back to her flat. Izuku's new move, dubbed Full Cowling, was a success. He could move, but it would still take a bit of getting used to. Good thing he still had the rest of the week to learn. Izuku had absolutely no clue as to what the fuck was going on. He had woken up at noon, cooked himself and Midnight some katsudon, and they trained a bit with Full Cowling. For patrol, Midnight said they were going to go to Tokyo, but on the train through Hosu, a goddamn Nomu busted through the window and flew off. Midnight and Izuku were quick to leap after it, jumping from rooftop to rooftop until they reached a road that was literally on fire. Deku, go help with evacuating civilians. You have permission to use your quirk, but do not fight unless absolutely necessary. With that, Midnight ran off to help the nearby heroes take down Nomu. Izuku was quick to follow his instructions, using One for All to move parts of buildings and jump over fires. After rescuing all the civilians with some sidekicks, he ran over to the next street to help out more wherever he could, before running into a panicked Manuel. Tenya, where are you? The water hero called while dousing flames. It is missing? But you wouldn't do something like that. Manuel, I'm Deku, an intern with Midnight and a friend of Ida's. I can go find him. He called. The normal hero turned around with relief. Oh, thank goodness. I think he's abandoned his post to find the hero killer. Please find him and keep him safe. Nodding, Izuku rushed off, revealing what he knew about Stain. A serial killer who used to be the vigilante Stendhal. He took to killing heroes who he deemed unworthy or fakes, and idolizes All Might as a true hero. He always killed 4 heroes in a city before moving on, and all the attacks happened in alleyways. Wait, alleyways? I just have to search the alleyways. Izuku ducked into the nearest alleyway and followed the map on his phone, going up and down each noise. After his 12th one, he heard a noise and bolted towards it. Damn you, Stain! How dare you hurt my brother! Because of you, he'll never walk again. You're Ingenium's brother, huh? I'm assuming you took his name for him. No matter. He wasn't a fake hero or a true hero. He was just in my way. But you're obviously a fake. Izuku turned the corner just in time to see Ida cry out as he fell. Falling still, Izuku bounced off the walls, soaring an all-might-worthy smash, throwing a punch to push Stain back, landing in front of him, between Ida and the hero killer. So, another fake hero has come to... Don't worry, Ida, I'll save you. Stain startled. Okay, this kid might have some promise. Midoriya, what are you... This doesn't concern you. Leave and let me kill Stain myself. Izuku glanced at Ida in concern, and was surprised to see Ida's face contorted in rage. Stain's voice brought his attention back to the serial killer. This new Ingenium is a fake, kid. He completely ignored my other victim, Native, over there to focus on his revenge story. The pro-hero in question was lying against the wall in pain as he watched what he knew would be a slaughter. Damn it, if it was just Ida, I could have carried him out myself, but not both of them. Behind his back, Izuku sent a distress signal to all his contacts and hoped someone would get there in time. Stain stepped forward and was about to attack, but stopped as Ida spoke up again. Leave, Midoriya. This has nothing to do with you. Ida, there's a lot of things I'd like to say, but I can't right now. Don't you understand? It's just like All Might says. Meddling when you don't need to is the essence of being a hero. As he spoke, he raised his arms defensively, a shaky smile on his face, as he stared down the man who had killed dozens of heroes. Stain smiled again, that creepy tongue slithering from his mouth in some sort of perverse glee, as he saw someone worthy of being a hero. This time, when Stain rushed, he only stopped because Stain rushed as well, full cowling at 5%. He ducked under the swinging sword, even as the murderer silently appraised his skills. He leapt over Stain's head and punched him towards the ground, landing on all fours. Then he felt his body lock in place, and his mind lost focus. The praises from a killer, the rush of heat as Todoroki appeared, holding up Midoriya's message, followed by the cold ice that slid him to safety. The brief feeling of pride as he figured out Stain's quirk, the ability to move again, leaping forward to protect Todoroki. Stain's threat as he continued to push forward, only to be pushed back again. The unknown emotion as Ida rose from the quirk's effect, only to take blow after blow to stop Todoroki from bleeding anymore. Pain as he leapt forward towards Stain, punching him even as Ida kicked him, and then kicked him again, and heat as Steen was barbecued by Todoroki. Relief as the hero killer was defeated and tied up by Native. The fight probably only took about 5 to 10 minutes, but Izuku couldn't remember most of it. The exhaustion, the flashes, and the emotions made it seem like both a second and an eternity at the same time. Finally able to breathe and calm himself, the three students and the accompanying pro hero removed Stain of his knives and pulled him towards the main road, where Izuku caught a familiar fragment, always left behind after Midnight used her quirks. Izuku Midoriya, I believe I told you to evacuate civilian and only fight when necessary. What have you been doing? Midnight asked, rushing forward, swatting him on his head, more pros coming a short distance behind her. Too tired for words, Izuku stepped aside to reveal Stain on the ground, where the older woman gasped. Is that Stain? One of the pro heroes behind the gaping teacher? Yeah, he was after me and the kid in the armor, but the green-haired kid and Endeavor kid stopped him. Then the armor kid helped as well. Well, holy shit, kiddo. I'm just going to credit myself for teaching you so well. Izuku smiled brightly and bowed, able to force out a thank you before he got too tired again. But then the worst happened. A white Nomo with wings flew overhead, swooping down and grabbed Izuku's midriff, dragging him into the air. He screamed his pain as claws dug into his skin. Blood dripped down from the Nomo's eye, dropping on the road and one of the heroes below. Without any air capabilities, and Izuku in the way of Todoroki's shooting a fire blast, the pro heroes could only watch devastated as the Nomu flew away with the quirk inheritor. But Stain could not stand for this. Awake for several minutes now, he slipped a hidden knife from his boots, cut the ropes holding him, and licked the blood on the hero, immobilizing the Nomu. He burst out of his bonds, leaping into the air and to stab his knife into the creature's brain and grab Midoriya before he could land injured. The heroes and UA students in shock. He just saved that kid. No, you idiot, he just took a hostage. No, I can't let you die. You're on your way to being a true hero. Unlike those fakes who sent this monstrosity, but I'll deal with them later, ranted the hero killer, a pressure washing from him, catching the attention of everyone there. He turned in time to see Endeavor running behind the other heroes, asking about the Nomu before he saw Stain. Endeavor, Stain called. You fake. You're the worst of them all. A fake hero who only cares about power and surpassing all might. No, you're not a true hero like this kid. You're not worthy. The pressure grew, becoming pressing as his presence washed over them all, shoving them towards the ground, knocking them down. The moon seemed to glow red, as did his eyes. The only one who can kill me is the true hero, All Might. And then it all dropped. Stain stood there, his mask on the ground, blood dripping in his mouth, and everyone could stand again. Later, they all realized that the blood was his own, and it caused him to immobilize himself. The police scolded the 3 students until Izuku revealed that Midnight and Manuel gave him permission to fight and find Ida. And Endeavor gave Todoroki permission to fight as soon as he stepped out of the agency. The chief of police apologized, as did Ida, before he was sent home after 3 days in the hospital. Todoroki and Izuku only stayed for 2 days, both going back to their internships, though they didn't do any more patrols. Izuku and Nomuri spent the next few days of the internship training full cowling, and Nomuri even taught Izuku the art of distraction, the sexual kind. Despite Izuku's initial embarrassment, he learned a lot that could either defeat an enemy or divert their attention. It was a useful skill when he looked at it objectively. The last day before the internship ended, Izuku redesigned his hero costume. Then he and Nomuri went to a professional hair salon, where she got her hair cut a bit shorter and lashed out, where Izuku fixed his undercut again. Everyone at school loved it. Uraraka and Mei especially seemed to like it, blushing and turning away before regaining their bearings. A month had passed since the internships, and it was time for a training session. Just a minute before, Mei had rushed into the room, covered in soot, shoved Izuku's hero costume briefcase into his hands, and sped off before he could give a thanks. But Izuku all but sprinted towards the changing room, closely followed by most of the class, who were excited to see his new suit. Izuku stepped out of the room into the training ground, showing off his new costume for all to see. The mouth guard and hood were all the same, but the green was darker, looking almost black in some places. The black highlights that were already there were now a purple color, and the whole suit was more form-fitting. Uraraka blushed, as did several of the guys, and a hiding Mei in the nearest classroom with a window. When she saw the faint outline of Izuku's abs, the choker Midnight got him was being worn, as were the earrings. Wow, Midoriya, that's so manly. Who knew you were secretly jacked, dude? Oh, wow, Deku, it looks so good. Yeah, man, that's totally electric looking, especially the choker. It's like mine and Jiro's. Stupid Deku. The class continued to gush over his costume until the teachers, consisting of Eraserhead, Power Loader, All Might, and Ectoplasm, got their attention with a single annoyed grunt from Aizawa-sensei. Izuku did see Midnight give him a proud smile and wink at him. The blush he gave was faint at this point. Almost a month of Midnight's almost motherly affections had both lowered his embarrassments and brought up his confidence. Now, you'll be going up against the teachers in a mock sparring session. In order to make it slightly more fair for you guys, we won't be going all out. Here are the rules. The teachers must immobilize the students for 10 seconds, while the student must hit the teacher once. You cannot leave the training area designated by the regular dirt patch here. This must be done in 5 minutes, or the student will lose. All start off against Midoriya. Izuku stalked forward, his body still thinking he was wearing stilettos, and stepped into the ring. Aizawa-sensei did the same in front of him. Well, he unwrapped himself from the sleeping bag and tossed it out of the way. At some unseen signal, Izuku leapt forward, starting the clock. He fired up full cowling and went to punch Aizawa-sensei, who hadn't moved yet. Just as his fist was about to connect, the overtired hero ducked down and maneuvered himself away from the speedy student. Izuku landed and turned around to see his teacher unfurl his capture weapon. Izuku kept dodging the scarf and attacking, twisting and turning in the air to gain momentum to keep him from getting captured. After 4 minutes, the effort of constantly using all for one with dodging and analyzing caught up to him. Aizawa-sensei, ever the clever man, noticed it. See, kids, this is what you want to avoid. Tiring yourself out like Midoriya has just done. Utilize your energy efficiently so you can beat your opponent. The man walked over to where Izuku was feebly trying to stay standing and dodged the half-strength blow. He wrapped the capture weapon around him and began counting out loud. Izuku's mind was running as fast as it could, desperately thinking of a way to win. After 3 long seconds had passed, the one-for-all user felt Aizawa-sensei tighten the bindings a little bit, and Izuku smirked. Midnight, standing on the sidelines, saw the smirk and began to chuckle to herself, ignoring the way the other teachers and students looked at her. Aizawa saw the smirk and paled, ever so slightly. Izuku Midoriya smirking meant something bad. And with 5 seconds left on the clock, and the damn problem child spoke. "Oh, tighten those bonds harder, Daddy." The teachers, All Might especially, gasped. Midnight's chuckled, evolved into full-out cackling as her newest and favorite protege used her lessons to the fullest. Izuku's classmates either gaped, blushed, or both at the seemingly innocent child's corruption. Aizawa instantly dropped his troublesome student and walked off the stage. Nope, I'm done. You win. I'm going to the rat to turn in my letter of resignation. And Midnight, don't corrupt my kids anymore. Midnight promised to keep doing so and laughed even harder when Izuku stood up and started laughing himself. And from that day forth, Aizawa never used his capture weapon when sparring with Izuku again. Midnight was temporarily banned from training anyone but Izuku, and the video that was taken from the camera feed was sent to every teacher and student in 1A from a mysterious contact. Everyone knew it was Nezu. All was well in the world. I hope you enjoyed this fic. It was so good. I loved it so much. Go check out the author of this fic. They did do a rewrite of it. It was a little longer, and I didn't have enough time to try and record it this weekend. But if I do re-record this fic, I will probably do that one instead of re-recording this one. We'll see. With the poll that I put up a couple of days ago, the winner was Seedlings. I think that's cute. I'm good with that. So, if you like it, let me know.